November 24th, 1971. A man dressed in a black suit quietly boarded a commercial airliner in Portland, Oregon. He wasn't nervous. He wasn't drawing attention to himself. In fact, he looked like any ordinary businessman traveling for the holidays. But within a few hours, he would commit one of the most daring crimes in American history. A crime so unbelievable that more than 50 years later, it still remains unsolved. He hijacked a plane, collected $200,000 in ransom money, then jumped into a stormy night from thousands of feet above the ground and vanished. No body was ever found. No arrest was ever made. No one knows for certain whether he lived or died. His name was D.B. Cooper. And this is the story of the man who disappeared into the darkness. The day before Thanksgiving is one of the busiest travel days in America. On the afternoon of November 24th, 1971, a middle-aged man walked into Portland International Airport and purchased a one-way ticket to Seattle. He paid in cash. The name on the ticket was Dan Cooper. Witnesses later described him as calm, polite, and well-dressed. He appeared to be in his mid-40s, around 6 feet tall, with dark hair and a professional appearance. Nothing about him seemed unusual. Nothing suggested that he was about to become one of the most famous criminals in American history. After boarding Northwest Orient Flight 305, Cooper took a seat near the rear of the aircraft. He ordered a bourbon and soda. Then he quietly waited. The flight to Seattle was expected to last less than an hour, but Cooper had a very different plan. Shortly after takeoff, Cooper handed a folded note to flight attendant Florence Schaffner. At first, she assumed it was a phone number from a passenger trying to flirt. Without looking at it, she slipped it into her pocket. Then Cooper leaned toward her and calmly said, "Miss, you'd better look at that note. I have a bomb." When she opened the paper, her heart nearly stopped. The message stated that Cooper had a bomb and wanted her to sit beside him. As she took a seat, Cooper opened his briefcase. Inside were several red cylinders connected by wires and what appeared to be a battery. Whether the device was real has never been confirmed, but to the flight attendant it looked terrifyingly real. Cooper remained calm. He never raised his voice. He never panicked. Instead, he quietly listed his demands: $200,000 in cash, 4 parachutes, and a fuel truck waiting when the plane landed in Seattle. If his demands were met, nobody would be hurt. While the plane remained in the air, authorities on the ground rushed into action. The FBI was notified. Airport officials gathered the ransom money. Law enforcement officers prepared the parachutes. Meanwhile, the passengers remained completely unaware of the danger. Many believed the aircraft was simply delayed because of air traffic. For nearly 2 hours, the plane circled above Seattle while Cooper's demands were arranged. Finally, authorities delivered everything he requested. The aircraft landed, the money was brought aboard, the parachutes were delivered, and then Cooper did something unexpected. He released every passenger. One by one, 36 people walked off the plane safely. Most hijackers use hostages as leverage. Cooper didn't. He only kept a small flight crew on board. Then he ordered the pilots back into the sky. No one knew where he planned to go, and no one could imagine what he was about to do next. Night had fallen over the Pacific Northwest. Heavy rain pounded the aircraft. Powerful winds swept across the landscape below. The conditions were brutal. Cooper instructed the pilots to fly low and slow. He wanted the landing gear partially lowered. He wanted the aircraft configured in a very specific way. The crew followed his instructions. Unknown to Cooper, military fighter jets were secretly tracking the aircraft from a distance, but visibility was poor. The darkness made observation nearly impossible. Inside the cabin, Cooper prepared for his escape. He secured the money bag to his body, put on a parachute, and waited. Then, at approximately 8:13 p.m., the aircraft suddenly jolted upward. The pilots immediately noticed a pressure change. Something had happened. Moments later, they realized the rear staircase had been lowered. Somewhere below the aircraft, in freezing rain and total darkness, D.B. Cooper had jumped, and just like that, he disappeared. As soon as the plane landed, one of the largest manhunts in FBI history began. Investigators searched forests, mountains, rivers, and remote wilderness areas. Helicopters flew over vast stretches of land. Search teams combed through rough terrain. Agents examined fingerprints, interviewed witnesses, analyzed every piece of evidence they could find. But the results were shocking. Nothing led to Cooper. No body was discovered. No parachute was recovered. No trace of the hijacker could be found. Many investigators believed there was no way he survived. The jump had been incredibly dangerous. It was nighttime, the weather was terrible, and the terrain below was unforgiving. Yet despite all the searching, no evidence ever proved that Cooper died. For years, the case remained cold. Then, nearly a decade later, something unexpected happened. In 1980, an 8-year-old boy was digging along the banks of the Columbia River when he discovered several bundles of decaying cash. Authorities quickly examined the money. The serial numbers matched the ransom money given to Cooper. It was one of the biggest breakthroughs in the entire investigation, but instead of solving the mystery, it created even more questions. How had the money ended up there? Did Cooper lose it during the jump? Did the river carry it there? Or had someone placed it there years later? Nobody knew, and once again the trail went cold. Over the decades, investigators examined hundreds of suspects. Some were military veterans, others were experienced skydivers, some had aviation backgrounds, a few were career criminals. Each suspect seemed promising. For a while, then the evidence would fall apart. No fingerprints matched. No DNA confirmed a suspect's identity. No confession could be verified. The deeper investigators looked, the more complicated the mystery became. The man known as D.B. Cooper remained a ghost, always close enough to chase, but never close enough to catch. As the years passed, D.B. Cooper became more than a criminal. He became a legend. Books were written about him. Movies and television shows referenced his story. Countless theories emerged online and in documentaries. Some people believe he survived and escaped with the money. Others believe he died shortly after hitting the ground, and some believe the truth has never even been considered. In 2016, after decades of investigation, the FBI officially suspended active efforts on the case. One of the greatest mysteries in American history remained unsolved.